Kopi Dulu friends, we're going to be talking about how to get off on the right foot with a new tarot deck this week. That and our Sunday morning spread coming right up. Well, hello friends. Brian No from Cards of Light. Thank you for joining me once again this week. We are going to be having our tarot reading for the week to come in a little bit here, but we're also going to be talking about kind of how to get off on the right foot with a new tarot deck. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Please do subscribe when you get a chance, and if everyone could give this video a thumbs up, I'd appreciate that as well. And if you're a returning viewer, I appreciate it so much. Thank you for joining me again this week. Okay, new tarot deck. There are some practical considerations to getting started with a new deck, and then there are kind of some separate things that particularly apply to kind of the art and craft of tarot that maybe will seem not quite so practical initially, but I'll try and explain why they're a good idea to incorporate anyway. Let's start with some of the practical matters though. Whether you are brand new to tarot or whether you maybe have a lot of experience with a particular deck or style of deck, like let's say you've been working with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck for a while, and now you want to maybe start learning the Tarot de Marseille or the Thoth deck or some other system. There's a learning curve there. And it's not just on the intuition side and all of that. It's actually the traditional meanings of the cards, how they relate to each other in the deck, and how they are most powerfully used within the context of a tarot reading. So there's a lot of information out there about all of these decks and all of these systems. And it's good to make use of that. When I started using the Thoth deck, and I'd been an RWS person for a few years at that point, when I started using the Thoth, I read several books about it, watched endless hours of video about it, studied up, thought about it, and am still doing that to this day. But certainly early on, I was spending a lot of time and dedication to really learning as much as I could about the history of that deck, all of those sorts of things, and all of the meanings that were sort of layered over the deck by the people that created it. So you'll want to do that. You'll want to get kind of the analytical information underhand. But you'll also want to bond with the deck. At least that's what a lot of people will call this activity, to where you not only are familiar with kind of the rational basis for what's going on with that particular deck, but you know how it feels in your hands. You can recognize the cards pretty quickly when they're laid out in a spread, especially if you're reading for others. This is important. So you don't want to be thinking, what is that card? And it's in some of the decks, it's easier to tell than others what suit and rank a card is. So you'll want to just get a lot of familiarity with the deck. Flip through it to start with, but then I would recommend doing the same thing that you do when you learn tarot for the very first time, maybe incorporating it as a card a day that you draw for a while until you really are on intimate terms with what those cards look like, and kind of how they behave in the context of the practice of tarot. So you also may want to kind of clear the energy out. I know it's odd to think about inanimate objects or pieces of cardboard retaining energy. But whether it is a newly manufactured deck, you kind of don't know where those have been, or certainly if it's a deck that's been gifted to you, it's a used deck, they may be carrying around all kinds of kind of residual gunk and energy that you want to clear out of there. Even though it sounds odd to say, think about whenever you've walked in a room and something just felt off and the vibes were just not good. And then you learn later that there was an argument in that room. Before you even got there, you didn't witness the argument, you couldn't have really known about it. You just walked in and felt that. It's the same way with tarot decks. If you don't know the history, whether it is a new deck or whether it's an older deck. And so it's good to just kind of clear that out. As far as how to do that, you could use a ritual like the pentagram ritual that we talked about a couple episodes back. You could just wave the deck over some incense in the smoke of the incense. You could do something with the 4 elements, so you could have those arranged maybe on your tarot table, and ask the fire to cleanse the deck, ask the water to cleanse the deck, etc. It could be very elaborate or as simple as just passing it over some incense smoke, or maybe just holding it in your hands and saying a few words to kind of bless it and start from scratch with it. You can think of this as like rebooting a computer or device. A fresh start clears out all the old gunk and can help it to perform its best. And oddly enough, though it sounds strange, the same is true of a deck of cards. You can also, some people interview their decks. And it can be a very structured thing where you've got a series of questions that you go through and then draw a card to get an answer. Or it could be something as simple as saying, hey, deck, what do I need to know about you? And then either drawing a card or doing a 3-card draw. Something that kind of establishes that initial relationship with the deck and something to build on from there. You can shuffle and then rearrange the cards back in order. And this is really good with a deck that is new to you to do this. It's also good as you're going along, with the decks that you use all the time. One of the things Lon Milo Duquette recommends is that you do this at least once a week, every week for the rest of your life if you're working with tarot, is to take those cards, shuffle them well, rearrange them into the original order with all of the majors together in order, with each of the suits separated out, with those cards ranked in order. And then once you've done that, shuffle them again. It's really good to do with a brand new deck, though. And it's also good just to have that deck nearby, sitting on a coffee table or something near you or wherever you are. And every now and then pick it up and just do some overhand shuffling with it, just to get used to the way the cards feel in your hand, that sort of thing. You could do that when you're maybe doing other things. If you're sitting around talking to folks, it doesn't hurt to have the cards in your hand shuffling. You're watching TV, you're reading a book, that sort of thing. You could have those cards in your hands from time to time. Shuffling them, just getting used to the way that they feel, kind of getting them broken a little bit. The cards also will deal differently once they've been handled some. And so from a practical standpoint, that can be kind of cool to really kind of get the deck not broken, but broken in a little bit. Think about it like a new pair of shoes or something, just so that it's not so stiff and formal, so that it's a friend that you're familiar with. You might also keep a deck-centric journal. Hopefully you are, writing down some of your experiences with tarot anyway, but it wouldn't hurt to, for a little while, a few weeks or something like that, just jot down your experiences with the deck, or even throughout a deck's life. You could continue to do that if you want. You'll begin to see patterns if you do that you won't notice in the moment. You'll see that a certain deck is really good for certain things and maybe limited in some other ways. And you'll only really see that if you're looking at the picture over a long period of time. So it does help to journal, because otherwise you're going to forget some of this stuff. Which deck was that? I think that is pretty much what I do with a new deck. And it's been a while since I got a new deck in my hands. But what I tend to do is clear the energy out of it, kind of hold it and give it a little blessing, at least in my mind. Spend some time just with it in my hands, carrying it around wherever I go, shuffling the cards from time to time, that sort of thing. And watching other practitioners that work with that deck, probably, and listening to the things that they have to say. Those are whenever I start with something new. That's kind of what it was. When I started learning about the Tarot de Marseille, I took a quick class with Enrique Enriquez, who's one of the noted folks who use the Marseille deck. When I got into the Thoth deck, I read books from Juan Milo Duquette, started watching his social media stuff, and then also studied with Joe Monteleone, who is one of the noted experts with that deck. So I think it's good to keep an eye on what other people are doing with a particular deck. These may all seem like, oh, well, they're tarot, they're the same, and in some ways that's true. But the decks really also do have their strengths and weaknesses, just like anything else. So it's good to watch what other people are doing with them as well. Anyway, that is pretty much what I do to kind of get used to a new deck and to get off on the right foot with it. I'd love to hear your questions or anything that you'd like to add to this that you think is important for somebody to do as they're working with a new tarot deck. Leave comments here with the video or visit the weblog at atarotjourney.com and let me know what you think. Let's go to the table now for our tarot card reading for the week to come. Okay, we're going to do a 3-card reading for this week. Opening influences, we have the 3 of Discs. For the predominant energy of the week, we have the 7 of Cups. And emerging influences as the week goes on, we have the 9 of Cups. Okay, let's take these one at a time. This 3 of Discs card over here in the first position is styled Works in the Thoth deck. And so the week begins with an emphasis on work, on business, on commercial transactions, new projects, things that are very real, very material, that have a lot to do with our physical environment, with things that are very concrete in the material realm, things that are very solid and seem very real to us. And this card also usually has to do with teamwork, with working together with others toward a goal. So that is the opening influences for the week. As the week moves on, we come under the influence of this 7 of Cups. And this is the card of delusion and distractions and temptations and kind of too many choices. I always think of this card as kind of being like a hangover, where if you've eaten too much, it's too much, too many good things, and you're feeling a little sick. And so if this relates to how the week opens, if it's a work endeavor, and we get to this 7 of Cups, we may be facing just too much coming at us at once, and it may be overwhelming, and the temptation is to just kind of get lost in all of that. If we keep our focus, though, and we're able to kind of zero in and not be distracted, and not be overwhelmed, then we get to this 9 of Cups over here, and this is styled Happiness in the Thoth deck. It can be kind of signaling success and the pleasure that comes from that, well-being. It also, though, can kind of signal some vanity and also some overindulgence. So with those two cards together, I think we need to kind of watch out for that temptation to just have to indulge ourselves. Let's put it that way. I think the overall look at these cards is that we need to keep our focus this week. And if we do, it should lead to good things. That's the way I would see these cards. If this is resonating with you, please do get in touch. Either leave comments here or pop on out to the weblog and find my contact information there. Thanks for joining me again this week. If you would, before you go, if you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We will be back soon. And in the meantime, as always, I wish you peace. Take care.